Do snow globes bring nostalgic memories for you? We are making a crochet one today. I have 3 finished ones here. They're slightly different and they are different sizes because the yarns that I have used are different. Also the way there are like snowflakes are different in these 2 than that there. And this is much chunkier yarn as well. That's why it's bigger, even though it also has less rounds here. We are first going to make one this way and then afterwards that way. If you are a beginner, this here is easier to make than these here bubbles in there. This here has been hardened. So if you like your snow globe to be stiff, you will see at the end how I have hardened this using hobby glue. You don't need that many yarns. I just took some alternatives here. So for one like this here, you need a tiny bit of blue. I have 3 different kinds here. And then you need a little bit of yarn for the base bit and white for the surround. And then some silver thread to make the snowflakes. Or you could of course use white as well. Real snow is white. But I like the silver, so I'm going to use this here one. These here yarns are wool, but you can use any material. And then you need a crochet hook that goes with the thickness of your yarn. Mine is a Glover Amour 3.5mm or E. You need so little of the glitter yarn that some sort of a thing like this that I got from a Christmas gift stall or something can do as well. For this here one, I used chunky yarn and a larger hook. This is 6mm. And you might want to use a stitch marker. We are starting in the middle here, and on the first round there are no snowflakes or these bubbles. First we need a magic ring. I do it the way I normally do it. Just go round your finger once and make a stitch. And then we make 6 single crochets into this here ring. 6. And then tighten the magic ring. There. And go into the first one and pull the yarn through a slip stitch. You might want to take a screenshot of these stitch counts for the circle. Snowflakes are always random, so I made sure that there's no pattern forming from where I put them. Chain 1, and if you like to use stitch markers, now you could put one into this here chain so that it's easier to remember where your round starts. But it is a bit bulky. I don't actually use stitch markers a lot, but in this case they are handy so that you don't have to start looking for the start of the round every time. On this here round we are going to have 2 single crochets in each stitch, and at the same time I'm going to make 2 of those sort of lumps of silver thread. So take the silver now, and it needs to go into the stitches so that it doesn't show when it isn't needed to be shown. So I'm starting a single crochet and putting that in there so that it will stay in the stitch, and 2 single crochets in that first stitch, and I'll still do 2 in the next one, and then start using the silver. Now make sure you don't pull this out. I'll pull it a bit longer there. Remember that it's easy to change the speed of any YouTube video. So if it seems that I'm going too fast or too slow, you can go to the settings and change that. Now that we have to increase in every stitch, I'll make that the silver thing in the front loop of the stitch and then use the blue for the back loop of it. So to make that the snowflake, insert the hook in the front loop of the next stitch and take the silver and then yarn over and another one in the same stitch, again yarn over, a third one, yarn over, and a 4th one. And now go back, take again the blue one, the colored one, and pull the yarn through all of the loops. So now we got the snowflake here. And then turn it round a bit and find the back loop of the same stitch and make a single crochet there so that we increase there too. And then keep that silver yarn there and continue. So the next, again 2, and the next 2 single crochets in that, and I'll make another one of those snowflakes now in this here next stitch. So again, using the front loop, pull up a loop, yarn over, second time, yarn over, third, yarn over, and one more there, and then pull through them using the other yarn. And again this forward so that we can go behind there and make another stitch behind there. And now we have the 12 stitches on this here round, and the stitch marker is in the chain that started the round, so we are not going into that, but a slip stitch into the stitch above that there. So finishing off that there round like that. And I'll take the stitch marker away now. And then we need to start the next round. Again, chain 1, and you can put the stitch marker in that stitch. On this round we increase less every second stitch, so I'll go into the next stitch and again leaving the silver inside the stitch, 2 stitches there. And now it might be easier to do the snowflake in a stitch that you don't have to go into the back loop then at all, because we are not increasing in this second stitch. So I'll do that just the same way 4 times. There, and then using the blue to pull through it, and then the next one is one where we increase on every second one on this round. Then the next one, no increase. The one after, again 2 in 1 stitch. Oh, easily that comes out of there. So the silver continues inside my stitches. Then 1 on this one, and here I'll do it so that I increase at the same time. 2, 3, and 4. Through it, and the increase stitch goes behind it in the back loop. Then next one, no increase. Then again 2 in 1 stitch. And where will I put the next one? Right here, even though it's very close, but just to avoid getting any kind of repeat here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that was a no increase stitch, and then 2 in the next one. And on this round we should have 18 here. So one more in the last here. And then a slip stitch in that there one. If these seem to sort of go to the back, you can push them more to the front easily. This was the 3rd round, and we have 2 more. On the next round after each increase we have 2 stitches without increasing, and on the last one 3 without increasing. Continue the same way according to this that we took a screenshot of. Again, chain 1, stitch marker into the chain. When you crochet circles, it's always good to check that your increases don't go on the same spot, because then it's not completely rounded. It can get sort of corners if you do that. So I'll do 2 stitches without increases first. 1 and 2, and then an increase, 2 in the same stitch, and then 1, and here's a good place to take the silver, and this is not an increase one, so but I'm still always using only the front loop so that it sort of stays in the front of the work, and there. And then the next one is increasing, and so on. So continue just the same way, that you always increase and then have 2 stitches without increasing, and then space out these silver bits wherever you like to. And on this round you will have 24 stitches at the end. So that's that round finished, and one more round. And first again a slip stitch, and on this round you will have 30 stitches at the end of it, and on this round you always have 3 stitches in between the increases where you put 2 into the same one. So I'm taking my silver from there and starting here, and now into the, so that was 1, and then this is the second one, was the second stitch, and then a third one, and after this one now increase 2 in the same stitch, and then again 3, 1, 2 and 3. So like this until the end, with as many snowflakes as you like. There, and the last time slip stitch there, take that off, and you can cut these, and at this stage you can already weave in the yarn ends here. Then we'll do this here base bit. We start it sort of upwards from this. You can do it anywhere in it. I'll start here. So insert the hook into one of the stitches and take your yarn. With these sort of things I always like to pull the first stitch using 2 strands, and then make a single crochet in the same stitch, and I'm leaving the tail inside. So there's 1, and we can do 6 single crochets here. 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then chain 3 and turn, and now to get this widening a bit both directions, then 2 double crochets in the same stitch, 1 and 2, and then a double crochet in the next stitch. But then to get this sort of straight, I'll do 2 half double crochets now. So in the next one and the one after, a half double crochet. Then a double crochet again, and 3 double crochets in the last stitch. 1, 2 and 3. Then chain 1 and turn, and now we can go on slip stitches through this here, just to make it sort of look a bit sturdier. So a slip stitch and through both of the loops of the stitch, so slip stitch into every stitch. And then just finish it off. And this one can be cut off and this one can be woven in. Here we are well on with it, and then I'm using white to go around it. You could also use the silver. I have my white yarn here and start in the same stitch where the red is. And actually here I'm not using both strands here, just so that it won't get bulky. And again I'm leaving the tail inside stitches and just go round it with single crochets. We need to increase to have 2 in 1 stitch a few times so that it doesn't start to pull sort of into a cup shape. I'll have 2 here, and how many you need, how many times you need to increase depends a bit how tightly you crochet and on what, if you have the same weight of yarn in all of these or not. So I'll increase here again, 2 in the one, and then just keep going, have 2 in 1 stitch twice here. Almost done. And the last stitch in the same one where we had the base bit starting. And there. So after finishing that yarn off, that's it finished. And as I mentioned at the end, I'm showing how I hardened it. But then about this here one, I'm not going to make another one exactly the same. I'm only showing what I did differently here. Here we are simply crocheting using the 2 strands of yarn at the same time, a colored one and the silver one. And you can of course do that with any kind of yarn, but with a chunky one it shows a bit less so you don't get too much of it. This one starts the same way as the other, making a magic ring and stitch there. And as soon as you have the magic ring done, take the other yarn as well and simply start exactly the same way as we just did there, but instead of making separate sort of bubbles like that there with the silver color, you let the silver color run at the side of the colored yarn all the time. So here have 3, 4 and 5 and 6 and so on. So you do exactly the same as with this here one, but you don't make these here bubbles, but you use the same amount of stitches. And if you have chunky yarn like this here, it is likely that 3 rounds are enough. And instead of having 6 here when starting the base here, I only have 4 here. But that's if you have very chunky yarn like I have here. Then we look at how we harden these. You need hobby glue that is white and that dries clear. And you add about the same amount of warm water as there is glue, or a little bit more water, and then you mix it really well. And you dip the decoration into it and let it really steep into it so that the glue is really right through it everywhere. And when you lift it up, Press some of the excess glue water out of it and then set it to dry on some surface that it's not going to stick to. It's going to take a while, overnight certainly, to dry, depending a bit on the kind of glue you had, but I let mine dry overnight. One final tip about the hanging loop. This is not the kind of a decoration that you would want to be swirling around so much, so it can be best that you actually pass the yarn under a few stitches, a couple of stitches there. Then it doesn't turn as much, it stays the way you put it. Make many snow globes for your friends and family, and also check out this playlist of other Christmas tree decorations to crochet.